Problem 22-38, Part 4. So we are going to be preparing the direct labor budget. So if we scroll back up here to our direct materials budget, we know we're going to have to make 1,300 youth bats and 2,700 adult bats. So that's budgeted bats to be produced, and that is going to be brought down to our first field, first line here in the direct labor budget. So let's go ahead and input that. So we have budgeted bats to be produced. Again, that is 1,300 youth bats and 2,700 adult bats for a total of 4,000 bats. And because this is the budget for direct labor, we need to figure out how many direct labor hours per unit we need here. So let's go ahead and input that, and we'll open up our data table to find that amount. So that's going to be under G. So each bat requires 0.25 hours of direct labor. Direct labor cost average $20 per hour. So that's going to be the 0.25 right there, hours of direct labor for each of those bats. So it's the same for each of the adult and youth bats. They didn't say that it requires anything different for either. So let's go ahead and input the total here. So notice it says direct labor hours per unit, and since it is the same for both, the total is going to be the same here. So we're not adding these across here, it's just per bat is the 0.25 hours of direct labor. So now on the next field, we have direct labor hours needed for production. So essentially what they're asking for is how many hours are all 1,300 of these youth bats going to take, and how many of these 2,700 adult bats are going to take. So again, that's a quarter hour for each bat. So we're going to take 1,300 times 0.25, and that is going to give us a total of 325 for the youth bats. So 325 hours even. And then for the adult bats, that is going to be 675 hours there in order to make 2,700 bats. So then we'll go ahead and add the direct labor hours needed for production across this way, and that is going to give us 1,000 hours total. And then our next field here is direct labor cost per hour. So we'll go ahead and input that there. And it's given to us again in that G in other data. It says direct labor cost average $20 per hour. So what we're going to do is input 20 for each, because again, it's the same amount of cost for each of those bats. And this is also going to be 20. Again, we're not adding these two across. This is just direct labor cost per hour. It's the same for both. So then it's going to want us to calculate the budgeted direct labor cost. So that is going to be these direct labor hours needed for production multiplied by the direct labor cost per hour. So if you'd like to see that in practice here, we'll get our calculator out. So for the youth bats, we're going to take that 325 direct labor hours needed for production for these 1,300 bats, and we're going to multiply that by the $20 of direct labor cost per hour. So that is going to give us 6,500. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat the process for the adult bats. We're going to take the 675 direct labor hours needed for production and multiply that by the $20 per hour direct labor cost. So let's take this 675 times 20. That is going to give us 13,500. So we can go ahead and enter that in. And then our total is going to be this 6,500 plus 13,500 for that budgeted direct labor cost. So the total for the youth and adult bats. And that's going to give us 20,000 even. And one way to double check this is to take the totals here, the direct labor hours needed for production, this 1,000, and multiply it by these direct labor cost per hour, 20. So again, that would be 20,000 to double check our work. So let's go close out of our calculator, minimize this, and check our answer. Good job. So in the next video, we are going to go ahead and work on the manufacturing overhead budget. But for now, we've discovered that we're probably going to have to pay $20,000 for direct labor costs to produce those 4,000 bats.